Have you ever felt like you're just running on fumes? That feeling of always procrastinating, of being stuck, maybe with a nagging sense that you're not quite living up to the potential everyone saw in you when you were a gifted kid? Well, you are definitely not alone. And that feeling isn't laziness. It's a real phenomenon, and we're going to get into the surprising science behind what's really going on. Wow, this quote, it just hits home, doesn't it? Verse social smarts. If you're the kind of person who's been told you're too intense or too sensitive or just plain too much, then you know exactly what this feels like. It's that shared experience of constantly feeling like you have to make yourself smaller to fit in.
Okay, so let's put an official name on this. Gifted Kid Burnout. This isn't just feeling tired after a long week. It's a deep systemic exhaustion, physical, mental, and emotional. It's the root of that constant procrastination, the anxiety that hums in the background, and that quiet, nagging feeling that you haven't lived up to your promise. Having this clear definition is super important because it gives us all a solid shared starting point. And here's where it gets really interesting. The cause is not what you've been told. It is not a moral failing. It's not about being lazy, and it has nothing to do with your potential. The real cause is a hidden neurological trait you were likely born with and a survival strategy you developed that comes at a massive hidden cost. There's basically a secret engine that's been running under the hood your whole life.
So, what is this hidden engine? The thing that drives both the incredible promise and, for so many of us, the incredible pain? Well, to answer that, we have to look at the work of a Polish psychologist named Kazimierz Dabrowski. He wasn't even studying burnout, but he stumbled upon the key that unlocks this whole mystery. Dabrowski called this trait overexcitability. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds kind of negative. But here's the secret. A much better translation from the original Polish is superstimulatability. And that changes everything, doesn't it? This isn't a disorder, it's just a heightened way of experiencing the world. Your nervous system is simply wired with more sensitive dials. It's like you're experiencing life in high definition all the time. For strategists, so Dabrowski created a simple framework with 5 channels this intensity can flow through. First, psychomotor. That's a surplus of physical and mental energy. Think talking fast, restlessness, a mind that never stops. Then you've got sensual, a heightened experience of your senses. You might be deeply moved by music or art, or deeply annoyed by scratchy tags on clothing. Imaginational is for the daydreamers, the ones with a crazy, vivid inner world. Intellectual is that relentless need to question, analyze, and get to the truth of things. And finally, emotional, feeling everything with incredible depth and complexity. The highs are higher, the lows are lower. Most gifted folks are off the charts in at least one of these. Dabrowski called these a tragic gift. A gift because of the incredible capacity for creativity, empathy, and insight, but tragic because being this high wattage in a world that often prefers dimmers can be overwhelming. So to cope, especially as kids, we learn a very specific and very costly survival strategy.
And that strategy is called masking. It's when you learn to hide your real thoughts, to tone down your excitement, or to just generally suppress your natural way of being in order to fit in. It's a form of social camouflage, right? You're essentially performing a version of yourself that you think will be more acceptable and less likely to be judged.
And this is the absolute core of the burnout problem. Masking is like running 2 operating systems on your brain at the same time. There's your authentic self, and then there's the self you perform for everyone else. The sheer amount of cognitive and emotional energy it takes to maintain that performance, day in and day out, leads to what the sources call a bone-deep exhaustion. It's a fatigue that sleep just can't fix. For strategists, this table really just lays out the long-term consequences in black and white. Look at the 2 paths. Masking leads directly to exhaustion, anxiety, and feeling totally alone. On the other side, authenticity leads to more energy, self-acceptance, and real connection. The irony is just brutal. The very strategy we use to try and connect with others is what ultimately isolates us and burns us out. So if burnout comes from long-term masking, what's the solution? It's not as simple as just be yourself. That's not helpful. The real solution is about finding or creating environments where it is safe not to mask. The antidote to burnout is something called psychological safety. For settlers, and luckily, there's a really clear practical framework for this from Dr. Timothy Clark. He breaks it down into 4 simple stages. It all starts with stage 1, inclusion safety, just feeling like you belong. Then you move to stage 2, learner safety, where it's okay to ask questions and make mistakes. Stage 3 is contributor safety, where you feel safe enough to actually share your ideas. And the highest level is stage 4, challenger safety, where you can actually question the way things are done to make them better. You can think of these 4 stages as a roadmap. They provide a structure, a scaffold for building relationships and workplaces where your intensity is seen as a feature, not a bug. It's in these safe spaces that you can slowly, piece by piece, begin to dismantle the mask and let your real, authentic self reemerge without that constant fear of being too much. For explorers, but here's the final twist, the thing almost no one talks about. Psychological safety isn't just something you find out in the world, it's something you build inside yourself first. And it all begins with understanding your own nervous system's response to threat, whether you tend to go into fight, flight, or even that people pleasing fawn response. So the real question becomes, how do you regulate your own system to feel safe enough to unmask in the first place?
If this touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share it with your family. Save this for more meaningful content ahead.